You would not believe the amount of emails that I get daily from people saying, Jenna, I have submitted so many applications. Why is it not working? Why can I not get a job in Germany? Reality is, it's not always that easy, but there are some really good tips. I typically will send them the YouTube video that I made a while back, giving you some amazing tips to repurpose your cover letter and your resume for the German market. That makes a huge difference. But what if it still doesn't work? Well, I want to introduce you to Jessica, the brains behind the Germany Career Coach. She makes it her mission to empower international students, global professionals, and expats who are interested in launching and building their career here in Germany. So she seems like the perfect candidate to ask this question to. Why is it so difficult to find jobs in Germany? And how can we do things better? How can we land our dream job here? Of course, don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you do like this content. We also have a ton of other interviews with other experts in the international expat moving to Germany space that you can go find under the playlist Hear It From the Experts. I will link that up above as well. But for now, let's jump on in.
I'm Jessica Schüller, and I am the founder of Germany Career Coach, an international career agency that serves both universities and students all around the topic of integrating internationals into the German labor market.
All right, so you work with job seekers from all over the world who are hoping to come on over here to Germany and land a job. But what are some of the most common mistakes that you notice that they make when they are searching for that job?
I would say the biggest thing is starting with the job search instead of starting with research and looking at first, what is it that you want out of this job search, out of this next job, this next career move, this next lifestyle move? And is that on offer in Germany, right? Especially if you're looking for a job in Germany and you're currently not in the country, that's a really important consideration to make. But even if you are in the country, looking at kind of labor market alignment, there's a lot of talk around Fachkräfte, right? So the skilled labor shortages, but those are in very specific areas. And a lot of times internationals don't realize that there's not skilled labor shortages in every single sector of the economy. And so you have to be really careful in planning your search.
That's true. I feel like everybody who's messaging me is like, I work in marketing and communications, but I know that they're looking for highly skilled workers. I'm like, everybody else is looking for that position too.
Right, exactly. That's exactly kind of a conundrum that I see every day in the work that I do.
So if there was one piece of advice that you would offer to people who are just starting their job search out here in Germany, what would it be?
So besides labor market alignment, which comes, I would say, as a second step, and I just mentioned this, you need to get clear about you and what you're looking for. Is this a job, career, or lifestyle move? If it's a job move, knowing that will help you then make certain decisions around, for example, paying a lot of attention to compensation or to what your actual job responsibilities are going to be. There's different things you're going to prioritize depending on if it's a job, career, or lifestyle move. If it's a career move, you're going to have to think about, can you actually make that career move in Germany? Career progression in Germany looks a lot different than in other countries. That's especially the case in certain sectors and in certain company styles, I will say. And then finally, a lot of people are choosing to consider Germany because they want to make a lifestyle move, right? I hear a lot of people talking about quality of life when they think about a move to Germany for a job or a career change. If that is your number one priority, for example, I work with a lot of people who have German partners that they may have been dating long-term, long distance, and they're going to make a move for that reason. Yes. And that is to a certain extent very much so a lifestyle change where you're probably going to have to do a location-based search, right? And so you're going to have different priorities then in your job search, but also kind of the career change that you're making, as well as the lifestyle that you want to build for yourself. Things can get difficult if we're mixing all three of those buckets, if you will, together, because you do have to be able to prioritize. Making too many changes at once is a recipe for disaster.
The one thing I've learned here is that flexibility is so key. I was originally working in experiential marketing and I spoke English and absolutely no German. So for me, I was like, okay, we're in Freiburg. I want to figure out how I can find a job here. How is it possible? And I failed miserably. And it was because I was in a specific location. I didn't speak a word of German. I was looking at experiential marketing, which really doesn't exist. So that was my recipe for disaster.
I love that you talk about that because this is something that happens to a lot of internationals. And sometimes we can put really heavy weights on ourselves like, oh, this is only me who's struggling and maybe I'm not qualified or maybe I should reskill and become a coder. That's something I hear a lot. And I'm like, let's just step back here for a second, the one word you use that I think is really important is flexibility. You have to bring with a certain sense of flexibility and adaptability, regardless if you speak German or not, but especially if you don't, because your career, the profession that you had at home or that you used to do, will likely look a lot different in Germany. When I am working with clients, I normally have them look at 3 different areas where they can focus their job search. Not just, for example, experimental marketing. We would have looked at then 3 other areas that you could have also kind of targeted in your search, right? To diversify and be flexible, because the opportunity structures in Germany look different in Canada or the US or other countries, right?
Man, I needed you when I first got started. I guess I never really put 2 and 2 together or thought about it that way, but I really did naturally pivot into something that I was passionate about, that I'm actually more passionate about than experiential marketing. I just kind of ended up there, you know, in my career path in Canada. I never thought I would be freelancing, but nobody ever said, you know, Jenna, have you considered freelancing, or maybe use your marketing skills towards creating content to help others who are wanting to move to Germany and struggling just like you know? And
exactly. Or can you turn that
easy.
into a consultancy role, right? You could have done consultant work at that point in time, you know?
Yeah, I was a travel blogger and somehow landed here, but I wouldn't change it for the world. So that goes to show, if you are a little bit flexible, I think your job, your career here, your life here in Germany could actually be even better than you imagined.
Oh, I always tell people Germany is a career candy shop. I think there is just like, there's so many options and opportunities. You have to start by figuring out kind of what they are, where you're coming from with these kind of 3 different job, career, and lifestyle buckets. And so, for example, in your case, if I would have talked to you way back then, that would have been something I would have recommended, because if you're making a lifestyle change and let's say your partner is able to support you for a certain amount of time, that provides you with the space to be flexible and adaptable in your career planning.
Talking about flexibility and making changes, how much would you recommend people actually learn the German language when finding a job? Because for me, that was one of the most difficult things, landing a job with absolutely no German. What would you say about this?
I have a lot of thoughts on this. So I do want to preface that I speak fluent C1, C2 German, and this goes back to an exchange year that I did in Germany. And so I've been speaking German now for about 15 years. I can say, kind of having that linguistic insider experience, that knowing German is not only critical and important for your career start in the country, but it is also incredibly important for career progression. Yes, you can find a job in Germany in English, especially like in your case, if you're a native speaker, but I wouldn't want people to only lean on that at the beginning of their career search. That might be something that is a situation that we have to just work with. But in the long term and even medium term planning, German should really be prioritized. Even if you're a freelancer doing your work primarily in English, you'll probably have some German partnerships that you want to pursue. And getting that partnership might mean that you're able to have a short conversation over coffee when you're having that discussion with that particular partner, whatever it may be, right? If you are really making a career or lifestyle change and move to Germany, considering the German language skills and the German language learning that you will need to do over the next couple of years is going to be incredibly important. Now, I will say, because I always get people who are like, oh, you can definitely find a job in English in Germany, go to Berlin, all these types of things.
I know.
Like I said, it is possible for sure, especially if you're in certain areas. So if you want to teach English, for example, you don't necessarily need to know German. If you want to work in specific IT roles, no, you do not necessarily need to know German. But like you said, there's a lot of people who are coming from abroad with a specific skill set. For example, marketing and communications. They may have no work experience in Germany normally, not even an internship. Some of them have not even studied abroad in Germany, have no German language skills, right? Have very few connections. And then they're bringing with work experience, and many of them are bringing with masters and PhDs. So there's like multiple hurdles there that we have to overcome from an employer perspective, because the employer looking at that is, first of all, like, okay, well, I can't give them any managerial, legal, financial responsibilities because they don't know German. What could I actually do with this person? And so really, if you only speak English and you want to do an English only search, you really have to focus on profiling and skill set and looking at then the target employers that would make the most sense based off of your profiling and skill set.
It really is true. Even that job in Berlin, for me, like you said, I never thought that I was going to have to speak German, because I have a YouTube channel that's in English. I'm helping internationals. And I have to say, probably 70% of the emails I write are in German. And I am by no means fluent. So I always use, Google Translate. And I can't tell you how much time that takes beliefs. The biggest regret that I have moving here to Germany was not learning the language early enough. But when we're talking about finding a job and how long it takes, do you have any estimate how long it might take for somebody coming from a country abroad and moving on over here to Germany to find a job?
Right now, I'm seeing job searches take anywhere from 6 to 9 months. This changes every couple months. It changes every year, depending on what the labor market looks like. And I would say that's pretty on track with what you're also seeing, regardless of the stage at which someone is at. So if we're talking about a graduate from a university or someone who is looking for a job in Germany from abroad. And this is also parallel with the job seekers visa, which is 6 months, as well as the post-study work visa that students get after they graduate from a German university, which is actually 18 months. And I do think that's really important to stress is like, there's a reason why those visa programs have the length that they do. I believe there's also going to be an extension now. They're extending the time period, I think, on the job seekers visa to 9 months. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's in the pipeline at least. That also tells you something, right? A lot of those programs are very much evidence-based. And so they're looking at the data, how long it's taking people from, day one to day I can register with my new work contract. And so planning in a good amount of time is super critical. I work with a lot of North Americans who expect a job search to like just work within a month or two. It's like magic. The reason why that's not the case in Germany and why you definitely should not expect that is because of the way in which the labor market functions. So we have really, really strong labor regulation and employment law. That's why a lot of people want the quality of life aspect of Germany, right? You are very protected as an employee in this country. However, the other side of that, thinking about the employer perspective, means that they do not have as much kind of power and control and capacity to change their kind of employee base at the snap of a finger, like you would see, for example, in the US context. And for that reason, there's a lot of risk aversion when it comes to hiring, because it is risky to take on someone who doesn't speak German, who's never worked in Germany, who has no connections. You have no idea who this person is, right? That's how the employer is looking at it.
I feel like here the turnover rate for internationals is a lot higher. There's companies here in Düsseldorf every other month, there's a new manager in that position, and it goes to show, how persistent and how proactive you need to be to really say, I am interested in this job.
If you also have skill set or profile issues, I mean, that's just, like I said, it's not going to be a really good combination to market. And so keeping in mind the 6 to 9 month timeline, and just know that if you are considering a job seeker's visa, starting 12 months ahead of your visa, right? Or 6 to 12 months even is fine, is going to be also really helpful. You shouldn't start your job search in Germany once you get here, right? You should ideally start it ahead of time. Talk to a coach, get your job application documents in shape, figure out your strategy, target companies, figure out kind of the lay of the landscape in your specific field, so that when you are on your first month of the job seekers visa, you ideally already have screening interviews set up, right?
You're right.
Things like that, because there's a lot of people who have to leave because they don't find something within the 6 month time frame. And I do think it's also important to note that there's a lot of people who are successful in that 6 month. So I have a friend who found their job on that visa on the last day, right before it was about to expire. They got the contract in hand. It is possible you can do it, but planning and prep and thinking about the timeline is super critical.
How persistent do you really have to be then? How many applications would you suggest you send out, maybe weekly?
The main thing there, before we get into numbers around applications, is quality over quantity. We consistently see in employer surveys that employers are saying, whether it's for internships or for entry-level roles or whatever it may be, we're getting applications. Okay. So in the space where you have jobs that require some type of academic qualification, so a bachelor's degree and higher, they're getting applications. It's the craftsman positions or the trades. Those are the ones where they're just not getting any applications, right? That's a different kind of area. But when it comes to people who have a university degree, which is who we're oftentimes working with, the employers are saying in these surveys, hey, we're getting enough applications, including from international applicants who are applying in English, but the quality is not good.
People are pumping them out too fast.
Right, exactly. And they're not saying the quality of the candidate isn't good. They're saying these application documents are already a turnoff to me, and I'm already risk adverse to hiring an international applicant because of all these other reasons we just talked about. And they didn't even take the time to put together a thoughtful resume. They didn't even take the time to educate themselves about our company and showcase that in the cover letter. Why should I give
Yeah.
them the time of day? And fairly so, right? I think if you own a
Yeah.
business, I own a business, we would have the same, kind of thoughts if we were
Of
looking at
course.
application documents that were not put together in a high quality manner. So that would be the first thing. I know
Okay.
there's been a lot of press around like, I applied for 500 jobs in 1 year and got nothing. And it's like, in order to apply to 500 jobs, you are not applying to anything. You are just sending your application and hoping someone picks it up. That is not a
Right.
strategy. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it is a strategy, but it's not a very good one. So don't do that. Focus on quality. So it's less about kind of the weekly basis aspect and more so about when we think about the strategy that you're following, right? If you're going to look, let's say, in a specific area for a specific position title, you do 30
Yep.
applications in that space. Okay. So marketing
Mhm.
manager, whatever it may be, in a certain location, in a specific industry, you take those 30 applications and you send them out. If that takes you to make them high quality, if it takes you 1 week or 2 weeks, does not really matter to me as long as it is one specific strategy and you are writing very tailored documents. Okay.
Okay.
That processing time is going to take 6 to 8 weeks minimum, I would say.
Mhm.
So while that's kind of processing, you're moving on to strategy bucket number 2 and then to strategy bucket
Okay.
number 3. After you've sent out those applications, for every 30, a really good result, a really, really good result is to get about 3 callbacks, phone screening, interviews, or actual invitations. Okay. So we're talking about a very low percentage of what you're actually sending out. All right.
Yeah.
But once you've done that with kind of 3 different strategies, you will have a good idea, or at least a better idea of what exactly employers are picking up from your profile and
Mhm.
which strategy worked the best and which didn't. And then you can
Yep.
narrow down on the one that did. So if you're someone who's considering the job seekers visa, this is something you can already be doing while you're applying for that job seekers visa and while you're kind of waiting to make your move.
As you're explaining this, I'm just like, oh my God, it's like mathematics or like search engine optimization, It's figuring out the puzzle pieces and okay, when I wrote this way, it worked. And in Germany, I find like they're so specific and they put a lot more focus on the cover letter and like really having that personalized cover letter as they do, say, in Canada. We still send cover letters, but it's not nearly as hardcore as in Germany.
I will also
What
just
would be
say on that note with the cover letter aspect, when it comes to applying in Germany, ChatGPT is not your friend.
I know, it's so bad.
Don't do it. Like, it's like if I have to read proven track record, demonstrated work experience, or something along those lines again, like I actually can now, because I look at so many of these every day, I can basically tell you like this was chat GPT generated and this one was actually written by a human. Please just write your cover letters. Use those tools as resources for ideas, but you need to be super tailored in your approach. And also, I think what's really important is that you pay attention to the structure and layout, design, formatting. That first kind of 8 seconds that they spend does matter.
I'm so impressed right now. Every time you say something, I'm like, why didn't I know her back when I first moved here? It was a struggle for me. It was a struggle for many. I get emails every single day of people having the same issue over and over again. Why do you think that so many people are missing this mark or struggling to get these jobs?
From my experience, there's simply a real mismatch in the marketing that people are looking at about Germany, about jobs in Germany, careers in Germany, and what the reality really looks like on the ground. And so the only way to really bridge that is to research and to plan ahead, and honestly, to ask for support. So if you're targeting a certain city or a certain state, there's free counseling and resources that you can access as someone who's considering Munich or considering Baden-Württemberg. There are resources available for you. Use those. Otherwise, you're going to get lost in the Google weeds. And unfortunately, a lot of the advice you find online is not great.
How would you say then that these applicants can really set themselves up for success?
So I think to kind of summarize, be very, very careful around too much transition at once, right? So we talked about kind of all these challenges or barriers. You also don't want to add a career change on top of geographic change, for example. Okay. At least not on purpose. You may need to be flexible and adapt once you get to Germany or when you're thinking about what you can do in Germany. That's something different than saying, well, I did this for the last 10 years, but now I want to move to Germany and do something completely different, right? Because we need to then talk about upskilling and that just gets really difficult, especially in the German context. Try to look for a horizontal career move. Okay. So what you did before, you're doing next, that's going to increase your know, like, and trust factor with employers. Second thing would be language. German language skills matter, as we discussed. Invest in your German language skills if you are really investing in a life in the country. Time. So a search is likely not going to be quick. I have seen it be quick for some people. I've seen some people turn around within a week or two and have interviews. this happens, it's for sure a thing. But in general, 6 to 9 months is what you should plan for. With applications, again, quality over quantity. Invest in support to help you understand what you need to do in your application materials, how you should tailor them. I would say the same thing for strategy. Networking. Who do you know in Germany? Who can you connect with? Who can you talk to? Think about your university that you had back in your home country and look on LinkedIn to see who from your university is currently working in Germany. Make the process as fun as possible once you know your why.
I love it. It was like, honestly, a breath of fresh air, getting all of this honest information out for once. I think this is gonna help so many people. Thank you so much. I will link down the website where everybody can get a number of your amazing resources or one-on-one coaching. It will all be down below for them. But thank you so much for jumping on this call and answering all of these questions. You've given me like so many tips too. I'm gonna continue on my freelancing journey, but I'm just really glad to get all of this open and honest information.
Well, and thank you. And I think it's also very much so worth mentioning, like, you are a connector. You're a kind of a natural networker, and you're bringing together a lot of experts. And that is such a great service for everyone who kind of comes across your channel. So thank you also for the work that you do.
Thank you. I have a lot of fun. I like being able to meet new people and bring everybody together and hopefully bring in more experts who have the actual knowledge so that we can bring some more accurate information to everybody on the interweb. Thank you so much.
Thank you.